Okay, Verizon says it's 9:30, so I trust them, and we'll call the meeting to order. The first order of business, let me take a roll call and make sure that which members are here. Michelle, I see you. Jen, I see you. John Pegg, I see you. Senator Brewster, I see you. Lori, I see you. Jerry, I see you on. Stephanie, I see you coming on. Austin, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Ann?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, and Jessica.
I'm here.
I am mute.
Okay, no, you're good, Jim, we can hear you. Okay, first order of business is approval of the minutes of the March 20th meeting. Jen, can you make that motion for approval?
So moved.
John, you want to second it?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries. And with that, we'll move on to the report of our Chief Executive Officer. Catherine, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Letwin, and good morning, everyone. Happy day after Earth Day. May I please have a moment of silence for the following employees that we lost in March. Operators Richard Marple, Joseph Halzer, Arthur Brennan, and William Bradley. Operations Control System Administrator Gary Chopiak. Security Officer William Reynolds. Service Person Richard Kotler. Maintenance Person Wilson Ringeisen, and William Sanford. Thank you. I want to thank everyone who participated in our great discussion with ACTC about the fare proposal on Thursday night and our first public hearing on the proposed changes yesterday. I hope we see more people at our upcoming, our next two fare hearings, the 9 a.m. next Friday and 4 p.m. on Tuesday, May 4th. Please visit portauthority.org/fares2021 to register to speak or to listen and to find more information, including our fare report. I also want to address some of the issues we've had recently regarding service. If you've taken a bus or rail car recently, you may know what I'm talking about. If you have not, we're experiencing system-wide out-of-service issues that we can attribute, like a lot of things, to COVID. Now that employees are eligible to be vaccinated, we are strongly encouraging them to get the shot. We are affording time for employees to get their shot so they can schedule this, and some combination of paid time off and a bonus. We have fewer employees available to make service now, but the goal is, of course, to get everyone who wants it the vaccine so we do not have to worry about this later. It's important for us to keep our employees and our families safe and our customers as well, and the safest way to do that now is to encourage folks to go ahead and get that vaccine. In addition to staff going to publicly available clinics, we're also offering vaccine clinics on site, so any employee who wants to get their vaccine can get one. This is only temporary, and as soon as we are through this will get us back to full service faster. So if this has happened to you, I am sincerely sorry. Like many things in the last year, COVID's impacted us, but you still need to get to work. You still need to get to wherever it is that you're going. I am deeply sorry, and I look forward to being able to get that service back online as quickly as possible. We're confident this sacrifice will help us make us more reliable in the longer term. And unless there are any questions, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Are there any questions from board members? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. With that, we'll move on to the report of the Performance and Oversight Committee from Michelle Zmianik, the chair.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. The Performance Oversight Committee met virtually last week, and I have 6 resolutions for your consideration this morning. The committee first reviewed 3 procurement items and determined the bids to be in accordance with the authority's procurement policies and procedures. The prices fair and reasonable, and the bidders to be responsible and the bids responsive. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends the award of bids listed in the resolution for the total amount of approximately $1.2 million. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Jerry, can you make that resolution? Make that motion?
So moved.
Jim, can you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
The next resolution seeks authorization to extend and amend agreements for executive search, outplacement, and coaching services. Chief Human Resources Officer Inez Colon reported that in May 2018, the authority entered into agreements with a pool of firms to provide these services on an as-needed basis. The agreements were for an initial term of 3 years for a total not to exceed amount of $272,671 and contain 2 additional option years to be exercised by the sole discretion of the board. The initial 3-year term of the agreements expires June 27th, 2021. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends exercising the first option to extend the term of the agreements with the firms for 1 additional year and to increase the previously authorized total not to exceed amount to $441,671. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Stephanie, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Ian, can you second it?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
The next 4 contract service resolutions were presented by the Director of Capital Programs, Ed Bilski. The first resolution seeks authorization to enter into an agreement for environmental consulting services. In order to obtain a qualified firm to perform these services, a request for proposals was prepared and publicly advertised. 6 proposals were received, and the proposal submitted by Hatch Associates Consultants Incorporated has been determined to be the highest rated proposal for the performance of services. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends entering into an agreement with Hatch Associates Consultants Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $600,000 to be allocated on an as-needed basis through task-specific work orders for an initial term of 3 years, with the option to extend the term of the agreement up to an additional 2 years for the sole discretion of the authority. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Lori, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Jessica, can you second it?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
The next resolution seeks authorization to extend and amend agreements to provide light rail transit systems contract services. In May 2017, the authority entered into agreements with WSP USA Incorporated and Mott McDonald LLC to provide these services. The agreements were for an initial term of 4 years through June 30th, 2021, and a total not to exceed amount of $7 million, with the option to extend the agreements up to 1 additional year at the authority's sole discretion. To continue the completion of services on current and future projects, the Performance Oversight Committee recommends extending the term of the agreements through June 30th, 2022, and to increase the total not to exceed amount to $8.2 million. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Austin, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Jen, can you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are any opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
The next resolution authorizes the authority to amend agreements to provide general architecture and engineering contract services. Mr. Bilski reported that in May 2017, the authority's board awarded contracts to Gannett Fleming Incorporated and AECom Technical Services Incorporated to provide these services for roadway and site work design and building and structure design. The agreements were for an initial term of 4 years through June 30th, 2021, and a total not to exceed amount of $6 million, with the option to extend the agreements up to 1 additional year at the authority's sole discretion. In April 2020, the board authorized the extension of the agreements to June 30th, 2022, and an increase in the total not to exceed amount to $7,750,000 To ensure adequate funding for the services is maintained, the Performance Oversight Committee recommends increasing the total not to exceed amount to $9,600,000 at this time. My fellow board members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
John, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Jerry, can you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
The final resolution authorizes the award of a construction contract for Negley Station Improvements Project. The Performance Oversight Committee recommends awarding the contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Plavchek Construction Company Incorporated, in the amount of $2,462,550 for the furnishing of all engineering, labor, materials, equipment, tools, supervision, and incidental items necessary for the improvements to the Negley Station. This resolution also authorizes the authority to enter into any necessary agreements with Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority to tie the newly constructed stormwater utility for the project into PWSA's sanitary sewer water system. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Jim, can you make that motion? You're muted. Stephanie, can you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the report of the Planning and Stakeholders Committee from Mr. Tague. I didn't think you had a meeting before, so of your committee.
Just two updates. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members. The Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee did not meet this month. However, I do have updates on the CAT Committee for Accessible Transportation and the Allegheny County Transit Council. The CAT Committee did not have a regular quarterly meeting scheduled for April. However, the committee, along with the City County Task Force on Disabilities, were offered a special opportunity to meet with Port Authority staff on Wednesday, April 14th, and participate in a question and answer session related to the proposed fare changes. This gave the committee an opportunity to learn more about the proposed changes in advance of the public hearings. The Allegheny County Transit Council regular scheduled meeting on April 21st from 5:30 to 7. The council had an opportunity to meet with Port Authority staff and to ask questions about the proposed fare changes in advance of the public hearings. The council was also provided with an update on the Title VI analysis for November 2022. The next general council meeting will be May 26th from 5:30 to 7 using Microsoft Teams. Unless there are questions, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions? Okay, then with that, we'll move on to the report of the Finance Committee from Ann O'Gorick, our chair.
Good morning, Chair and fellow board members. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, April 15th, and I have one resolution for your consideration. Chief Development Officer David Huffaker presented a resolution seeking authorization to enter into a grant agreement with the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County to receive community infrastructure and tourism funding. This funding allows authorities like Port Authority to carry out important economic development projects for current and future use. The funds of $65,000 would be applied to planning and design of improved wayfinding at approximately 69 locations near the rail system and busways. My fellow members, I respectfully request the board approve this resolution.
Jessica, can you make that motion?
So moved.
Michelle, can you second it?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Chief Financial Officer Peter Shank then reported on the March 2021 financial statements. He reported that total operating income for the month of March was $4.9 million under budget. Through March, total operating income is $49.6 million below budget. Every operating income category was below budget for the month and on a fiscal year-to-date perspective due to the pandemic. Lower passenger revenues and access program service revenues constitute most of the shortfall. Total expenses for the month of March were $2.9 million under budget due to lower fringe benefit expenses and $34.72 million under budget for the fiscal year. Mr. Shank reported that if these trends continue, the authority will not have to use any deferred revenues for operating purposes and may even have limited CARES Act funding remaining to be utilized next fiscal year. Total subsidy for the fiscal year is $5.87 million above budget due to CARES Act receipts that have offset lower passenger revenue. Mr. Shank reported that the authority ended March with approximately $142.4 million in operating reserves. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ann. Are there any questions? Okay, then we will move on then to the report of the Technology Committee from Jen Liptak, our chair.
Thank you, Chairman Letwin and fellow board members. My report is very quick. We had no business at last Thursday's Technology Committee meeting. We did have an update from CIO Devlin, Jeff Devlin, regarding some of the technology planning that they're doing within the agency. But as I said, there was no business or action taken at the meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, we have no speakers today. Is there any new business? Okay, then I'll remind everybody the next regularly scheduled meeting is for May 28th, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody then. In the meantime, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a good day.
Goodbye.